Venus and star blessings, and Happy New Year from the perspective of the Gregorian calendar, at least. It is some type of new beginning, although the true new year begins on the 21st of March from an astrological level. I always like to remind people of that, but there is a sense of a new beginning nevertheless. Today I want to talk about the new moon in Capricorn coming up, which will be the last, the final new moon in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. We won't see that again for another 248 years. So, yeah, there's big things happening for 2024, but for the moment, I'm just going to focus on the Capricorn archetype, particularly as we are in that energy predominantly. And I also want to draw your attention to the Capricorn Venus star point, which occurred in 2018. And whilst that is not active on the wheel necessarily, it is still a part of the bigger picture from the point of view of the pentagram, the 5 Venus star points on the wheel. Now, when that Capricorn star point occurred in 2018, it was conjunct Pluto. Transiting Pluto was at 18 degrees of Capricorn, which was the same degree of that Capricorn Venus star point. So it feels to me that as we go through this Capricorn season, there may be certain themes that actually are energized and activated from the point of view of where that Capricorn Venus star point sits in your birth chart at 18 degrees of Capricorn. We also have the new moon in Capricorn, which is at 20 degrees of Capricorn. And so that's also very close to that point as well. Mercury is going to ingress back into Capricorn. Mars is going to ingress into Capricorn, and Venus is going to ingress into Capricorn. So that Capricorn region of our birth chart will be highly energized. Has been, it's already started since the sun began its journey in Capricorn. And now, and Mercury first kicked it off by entering Capricorn last year, which wasn't that long ago. And as we move forward, these other faster moving planets, inner planets, personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, all personal planets. So with the Venus star points, we have our own Venus star points from the point of view of when we were born. There are 5 Venus star points that we superimpose on our birth chart. And as we grow and grow from infancy, childhood, adulthood, and so forth, just like we look at transits for our lifetime at different points in our life, it is the same with the Venus star points. They too are moving on the wheel as well. So they can be looked at as transits as well, except they move incredibly slow. However, there are 5 Venus star points on the wheel, right? So every time planets pass over one of those Venus star points, then that Venus star point on the wheel is energized, simply put. And so at the moment, as I said, we have, all these planets in Capricorn and several others catching up shortly in Capricorn. So it's a very important focus for us. It's a very important portal of energy that is, energized, basically amplified. So what does that mean? It means a lot of different things. It depends on who you are and, where you are on your journey. But overall, as a general theme, the archetype of Capricorn is definitely very much connected to our construct of reality, our adult self, if you like, the structures and responsibilities and hard work, that we put into the co-creation of our own life with this reality. So every time Capricorn is amplified, energized, transited, and so forth, there's a focus there on the conscious construct of our life, what we see, and how we have grown in those ways as well. This month is I think, for lack of a better word, it is going to be a very intense month. In February, we start the year of the dragon in Chinese astrology, and so that within itself, I think, is going to be quite an intense energy on the planet. The dragon itself, I'm not a Chinese astrologer, but I do have some insight about the Chinese animals, and the dragon is it's such a dynamic, electrifying type of archetype, if you like. Think about the fire and the flames that come out of his nose and his mouth. There's a sense of fire, burning, purification, death, rebirth, and also 2024 itself, this year, when you add up those numbers, it adds up to number 8. And the number 8 is a Scorpio number, Pluto Scorpio. So I don't think the level of intensity and our own personal journey of transmuting, transforming, releasing and shedding and letting go of the old has come to a close at all. I think it's going to be a lot more intensified this year, believe it or not, because this year is the last passage for Pluto in Capricorn. By the time we get to November, Pluto gets back into Aquarius. Well, let me just backtrack. Pluto gets into Aquarius this month, but then Pluto will go back into Capricorn, and then it will finally leave Capricorn for good in the month of November. So we really have all of 2024 for the final closure of Pluto in Capricorn. And from an evolutionary perspective, when a planet is, and especially a planet like Pluto, which corresponds to the soul, the individual soul, and the collective soul, the earth soul, the human family soul, and the transformations that are going on, when Pluto reaches its final point, there's got to be a ramping up of that energy even more, because it's just got to absolutely finish and leave no stone unturned through the archetype of Capricorn. So we've seen a lot in 2023. There's no two ways about that. And what we have seen in a lot of ways has been absolutely horrific. We all know that across the board. However, on the other hand, there's also been, and this has been going on for a few years now, and even longer than that, really, but just the intensified version of it, if you like, has really broken out in the last 3.5 years, in that we have seen so much being exposed, so much being revealed to us, and at the end of the day, we all have a free will and a free choice in what we wish to understand, to see, to investigate, to explore, to integrate, and to release and move on from, right? The matter of Pluto is always the matter of Pluto showing us the depth, the truth, the soul of things, and therefore exposing the propagandas, the hidden agendas, the lies, and so forth. So we don't have a choice in what's going to be exposed. It's all going to be exposed, but we have a choice in how we wish to participate in what's being revealed to us. And that's our own personal journey, and that's our own personal choice, how we choose to take that on. It doesn't change, again, what's going to be exposed. So Pluto finishing his tracks in Capricorn this year, the final year, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be, there's going to be a lot more that we have to contend with, that we have to realize, and that we need to understand. Yes, we have a choice in all of that, but from a collective perspective, there's certain things that are going to take place that are just beyond our control, period. That's that's just a given. So let me just share my screen and just bring up, well, this is the chart for today. So there's the sun at 12 degrees of Capricorn, there's Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and Mars, Ceres, Mercury, Venus are all in Sagittarius. And Mars has been on the galactic center the last couple of days. Mercury is heading towards the galactic center. And it's, you know, people try to explain that. And I think as much as we try to explain that from our little minds, there's only so much we can say, you know, through speech and word. We're talking about the galactic center being something that is so out of our left brain reach. It's a cosmic mind, if you like, you know, it's a cosmic energy. It's something that's so far beyond our perspective of reality. But in any case, when planets do pass over that particular point, they obviously connect to that energy and bring something forth, bring something to the earth, you could say, for us, for humanity to embody, to integrate, to open up to. You know, it's possibilities opening up for us, basically. And with Mars, you know, I like to think of it as the possibility of being more connected to some type of wisdom, Sagittarius, you know, with our choices and our actions. Mars is always connected to our choice and action and willpower and how we're going to exercise that willpower, right? Mars is how you go and get what you want. So Mars does need wisdom. And in the later signs, Mars does have wisdom, because the later signs on the wheel are signs that reflect wisdom in different ways. They are not personal signs. So they are not you know, the first half of the wheel is our own personal development as a human being, as an individual human being. Once we go past Virgo, then we start to connect to something bigger than ourselves, and it starts in Libra, where we start to meet the other person. Libra, right? The other person opposite us, and so on and so forth. But as you get to, you know, Scorpio, Sag, Aquarius, Pisces, those signs in some way transcend that component of ourselves that seeks to only serve itself. There is something in those later archetypes that has an interest in the bigger picture, in humanity, in concern and care for what we are doing here together, you know. And Capricorn has tremendous wisdom, actually. You know, when you take Capricorn outside of that mundane personality level, the mundane personality level is what it is. There is nothing wrong with that, because there is nothing wrong with any archetype. But we have different levels of expressions of each archetype, and depending on the awareness in each individual, the understanding, the insight will then depend on how those archetypes are experienced or perceived or projected, right? So the mundane level of Capricorn is very much about, you know, ambition and climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak, right? Respect, status, you know, I've earned this, I've worked really hard at this, and so on and so forth. Nothing wrong with that. But if we go into deeper components, I mean, Capricorn is, it's a very deep sign, actually. There's so many layers to Capricorn, because if you go into the constellations, you have different points in each constellation where specific stars sit, fixed stars. And each fixed star, you know, has its own story, which connect to that particular constellation, right? Which describe a lot more about Capricorn than just your basic 101 Capricorn mainstream astrology, right? But from an esoteric level, you know, Capricorn is the archetype as it's ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the gatekeeper, the lord of time, the lord of karma. Capricorn holds tremendous wisdom. It's the mountain goat climbing up on the mountain. The highest level of Capricorn is the care and concern for all of humanity. Martin Luther King is my favorite example of the archetype of Capricorn. It's the mountain goat that's climbing. Have you seen those mountain goats? That they are phenomenal as they climb up that, you know, steep mountain, and they don't give up. And the way they can just stand in the position that they do, it's just phenomenal. That's really a metaphor for the strength and stability of a very focused Capricorn, right? And the esoteric component brings in tremendous wisdom, insight, understanding about the deeper implications of Capricorn, right? And what it's really about from the point of view of the entire collective family, building, you know, structures and foundations that are inclusive, that include everybody, as opposed to exclusive, as opposed to divisions. When you go into the lower streams, which are predominantly of the personality, that's where we have division and conflict, essentially. Sometimes conflict is healthy. There's healthy combat and conflict, as it were, from the point of view of sports, for instance. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about conflict and division that derives from a very self-centered, personal, subjective, idealistic, perhaps, perspective on what is right, what is wrong, what I own, what he owns, and what they shouldn't have and what I should have, and so forth. Those sorts of things. But when we transcend that Capricorn archetype and go to its go to the sea goat, if you like, which holds that tremendous wisdom, and Saturn being the gatekeeper, it shows us the right path. Literally, it shows us the right path from a soul spiritual level. So as we progress forward in this month, let's just go to, here is the chart of the new moon. This new moon is, as I said, it is the final Capricorn new moon that we will witness conjunct Pluto for our lifetime. This is the final one, literally the final one. This to me says immediately there's something something so profound coming to a completion, even though it is a new moon, and a new moon always speaks to, for lack of a better word, a new beginning. But this new beginning is, it's a new beginning that's tied into the old things that are passing and finishing and completing, because Pluto is there in Capricorn. So I'll unpack this new moon a bit more in a minute. I just want to talk about the Venus star point. The Venus star point, which occurred in 2018 at the 18th degree of Capricorn, is basically conjunct this new moon, right? Pluto has certainly moved past it. You know, over the last few years, Pluto has moved away from that Venus star point. Mars is going to pass over that Venus star point. Mercury will, and Venus will as well. So because that Venus star point was conjunct transiting Pluto at the time that it occurred, one way of thinking about that is whatever was activated, energized during that time in 2018, there is something about the chapter of that will really come to light at this point in time because of this new moon. There is something new that will show up, right? That I think will be positive from the point of view. I mean, I don't like using simple words like that, but well, let's just say from a growth perspective, the reason I think that this is going to be advantageous is because there's a trine to Uranus, to this new moon, very close trine. In fact, the trine from Uranus is closer than the conjunction to Pluto. But I wouldn't say that Uranus is going to outweigh Pluto. I would say they both stand in their own power, those two planets relative to the new moon. One is a conjunction, one is a trine. Now, with conjunctions, as I've often said, the meaning of a conjunction, first of all, it's the most powerful aspect out of all the aspects. The reason it's the most powerful is because it contains all possibilities. A conjunction aspect contains 360 degrees of the will within that conjunction. Hence, the possibilities are many. The trine to Uranus is an interesting one because fortunately it is a trine, which means that there is a sense of being able to go with the flow of the Uranus energy in this new moon, which means what? It means stepping out of conditioned thinking. You know, stepping out of, moving away from perhaps some old traditional perspectives or constructs of what you've believed about XYZ or about life or about your own life or whatever it is, and freeing yourself up, right, to integrate a new understanding that enables you to feel more liberated and just simply more aligned and authentic with who you are becoming. Uranus is the ultimate liberator. When we resist Uranus, then sometimes it disrupts things for us, right? It brings in a little bit of chaos because we're resisting the inevitable, really. We are resisting the new way of understanding ourselves and life, right? We're holding on, Capricorn, to something old, to something that it's outlived its time and purpose. And certainly Pluto is the planet of transformation of the soul, of breaking the old structures down, Capricorn. Why would it do that? Because it wants to get to the core, the essence, the soul of what the soul's desires are at this point in its evolutionary path. Pluto is always the soul's desires. Those soul's desires for each individual vary, and there's many of them. And we could say that at different sort of chapters of our life, we meet a particular desire that the soul has, and we go through that journey, whatever it is, and so we evolve past it. Once we evolve past something, then it's inevitable that we're going to go to the next level. We can't stay with something once we've outgrown it. That's what evolution is about. It's growing and developing, right? You just 1 second. Sorry, as I was saying, very simply put, this new moon is taking us into a new paradigm. It's two very distinct things. It's actually leaving something old behind, Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn. And also, as I said, you know, these planets are going to energize that Capricorn Venus star point on the wheel, and wherever that is. So wherever you have Capricorn in your chart, that's where this is happening, right? So Uranus being the liberator, the one who can set us free from our conditioned mindsets, perspectives, positions, self-righteous positions, and so forth. Jeffrey Wolf Green has got a book on Uranus called, what's it called? Something the unknown, stepping into the unknown, or something like that. And it's all about Uranus, essentially. Uranus takes us into the unknown field because, for the most part, the way humans live their life and operate is through the world of Saturn, which is the consensus reality, which means sticking to certain norms and rules and conditions of beliefs, of lifestyles, of whatever it is that we were taught. And most people just kind of stay at that level. They never go beyond that. Oh, I can't do that because I was told that this is the way to do it. That people don't stop to think to themselves, even though I was told this, and even though I was taught this, does that mean that it's the right way for me? A lot of people don't ask that question because they stay at the Saturn level. So when you have a new moon trine Uranus, a trine aspect means that there is no resistance. There is a sense, a feeling more comfortable with the Uranus energy as opposed to resisting it. Just going to stop again. Sorry, I'm just having a throat chakra issue. And the disruptions are disrupting my stream of thought. Okay, so new moon in Capricorn, the final one for 2024, conjunct Pluto. It is a time of setting new intentions for sure, but the intentions that you are setting would have to be in some way connected to your whole journey of Pluto and Capricorn, the closure of that, the finale. We're never going to get this again. And, you know, several days after this, the sun is going to form an exact conjunction to Pluto. So there's a double kind of signature, you know, for the first half of January, let's say. You know, 11th of January, we have the new moon conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. And then several days later, the sun, you know, gets to an exact conjunction to Pluto. Sometimes, you know, with a sun-Pluto conjunction, which is there just for a day, that I don't feel that that's going to transform something new necessarily or reveal something new, but it will be the backstory and the backdrop of things that have been unfolding, evolving, and layers that you've been stripping back, right, to get a closer sort of view into your life path. So, you know, Sun Pluto on its own as a one-day transit is not going to change your life, but it can be very much the advocate and the activation of things that have been simmering and unfolding for quite some time. So for that reason, it holds a very powerful potential. And that day may come and you may not notice much at all. Some people, you know, will feel the effect of that a lot more than others. So let me just see what else I had written here. So Venus ingresses into Capricorn on the 24th of January, towards the end of the month, but Mars ingresses into Capricorn a few days before this new moon. So it's actually on the 4th, 5th of January. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see, you know, the change from Sagittarius to Capricorn. Very different archetypes. One is ruled by Sagittarius and one is ruled by Saturn. So Mars is still invisible at this point here of this new moon. I think it's on the 17th or 18th of January where Mars finally becomes visible, which will be Mars being in Capricorn. Let's just see where it will be exactly. Yeah. So it will be, you know, close to the middle of Capricorn when Mars becomes visible, and that will really change the dynamic of how Mars has been playing out, because it's been invisible since September of 2023. So there's been a lot of hidden agendas going on, a lot. So that's the tables are going to turn now as Mars heads into Capricorn, and then, you know, by the 17th, Mars is visible. So when it's just logical, when a planet becomes visible, it means that it's visible, right? So we can see whatever that archetype represents, we can see more clearly what is actually going on. Whereas when Mars is invisible, there's a hidden component. And what's going to be hidden are people's motives. Mars is your motivation, right? Just in the same way when Venus is invisible, matters of love and romance and money and things like that are hidden. So there's definitely going to be, you know, a very significant shift on the earth plane with what has been concealed. And it is going to connect a lot, obviously, to authorities, you know, government officials, authorities, governments, people like that, right? Something else is going to come forward with the chaos that's been happening. I'm hoping it's going to be positive for the world. So just to recap, think about your Capricorn house and the Venus star point at 18 degrees, which is being activated by all these Capricorn energies. You know, just from a very simple personal level, it's just simply an energy that invites you to focus more on how you are creating your life, you know, how you are taking certain things seriously, how sort of committed and devoted you are to the things that you're wanting to create, and not being sort of blindsided or distracted or sidetracked from things that are not really that meaningful. There's, like, for example, there's a term of late that I've noticed that's being used on Facebook a lot, which is called shadow banning. And my understanding of what people refer to when they make that comment is that something in Facebook, whether it's a deliberate thing or an algorithm thing or whatever it is, has the ability to reduce the visibility of one's profile and posts. And I've seen a lot of people complain about it, a lot of people who use Facebook to promote their work, advertise their work, teach things, you know, astrologically and otherwise. And you can see that people are very upset about that, right? And it's happened to me as well, and I haven't allowed myself to take it personally and get upset about it, because for me it comes down to that video, my last video that I posted, which was titled Standing Truth Always. And what I briefly spoke about in that video was that if you can't be authentic with your voice and speak the truth publicly on your social media platforms, and you just instead bring a fake face and try to entice people into watching you and listening to you by spoon feeding them what you think they want, then it's literally just that's just the lower level of Capricorn. It's just a business and that's it. But if you're a person, a soul who is more inspired by truth and justice and spirit and soul, and staying true to yourself, you will go into the field of Uranus, which means you will be authentic. And being authentic doesn't win you subscribers or viewers or more followers. To the contrary, it's going to have the opposite effect, which is why a lot of people don't do it. They prefer to hide and just give what they think is going to cause more popularity for them. So it's not for everyone, you know, it's not for everyone to walk that authentic path of Uranus, because if you're looking for the extra attention and followers and subscribers and whatnot, you're not going to go there. But then I would ask you, well, what's more important? Is it more important to have 500,000 followers, or is it more important to be really true with your heart and soul? That's what I would ask you. And if you said, no, it's more important for me to have more followers, and then I wouldn't make a judgment on that. That's your call. That's your life. You can do as you wish. But I think it's important to be honest and transparent about these sorts of things. As you guys know who do follow me, I was very transparent and vocal over the last 3 years with the COVID. There were many people that I disconnected with, that disconnected from me because they were not on the same page. That's fine. That didn't bother me one bit. Same thing is happening with the matter of the Middle East, because I have spoken up on it. Certain individuals have decided to disconnect from me or stop following me. And again, that's okay. I'm not interested in having people follow me, as it were, who, first of all, can't understand me or don't respect my work anyway. So it's just one of those things, you know. If you've got a lot of Libra in your chart, you're going to struggle with that issue, because Libra really needs to be liked. The most uncomfortable feeling for Libra is to not be liked by others and to not be accepted. But I'm an Aries, not a Libra. And I'm a morning star, not an evening star. So that's how I was built. I was built to have the courage to speak on things that will make people uncomfortable, to speak on truth, to stay authentic to myself, even if it means that I'm abandoned by the whole world, because God will never abandon me, even if the world does. You know, there's a beautiful biblical quote, and I might be paraphrasing now, but it goes something like, what does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? That is one of the most profound, beautiful biblical scriptures that I've ever heard. And regardless of whether you are religious or not, or otherwise, that quote is not about religious matters at all. It's an absolute fundamental wisdom and truth. So when I think about what I'm going to say, how I'm going to present myself, and so forth, I ultimately remember that. Will I not honor the truth so that I can gain the world's popularity and lose my soul, as it were? No, I won't do that. So Uranus really takes us to that level of insight, understanding, wisdom. Mars gives us the courage, and Pluto helps us transform and evolve to those levels as well. Many of you will be having a Mars return, as in Mars in Capricorn. Of course, that happens through every sign that Mars is going through, but I guess I brought that up because I do have Mars in Capricorn. So, yeah, I'll be interested to think about that for myself. You could think of that for yourself as well, because a Mars return happens every couple of years, so it's not as quick as a solar return or as a Venus return, which happens every year, right? And given that Mars will be visible, like I said, you know, around about the 17th, I think 18th of January, somewhere around there. I'd have to double check that, but from memory, it is about that time. I think quite apart from the collective issues that have been going on with Mars being invisible, and that would certainly speak to even just, you know, personally and individually, people in and around our life who may have had hidden motives about their desire towards us, what they've shown us about themselves, right? So as Mars becomes visible, because that energy turns and is visible and will now act on that visible level, if you like, there might be a lot of things that we come to understand as well within ourselves and just with the people around us, and the sorts of actions perhaps that we have felt or sensed or somehow seen, if you like, we're going to have a much clearer path moving forward, seeing that and seeing our own desires and actions, because Mars is desires as well. Pluto is the soul's desires, and Mars is more the desires of the personality. And the aim, really, from the point of view of Pluto and Mars, is aligning the lower will with the higher will. Mars is the lower will, Pluto is the higher will. When those two align and are in sync, there's something very powerful that unfolds in our journey of growth, you know. When those two are not aligned, there's a sense that something within us is acting at cross purposes with what we are supposed to be doing. And that can feel, well, there can be a lot of different feelings associated to that, but all of which wouldn't be very comfortable. When does, just want to see something. Yeah. Oh God. Okay, I'm going to come back and talk about the Sun Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, because that's another level, another story all together. But think about it, you know, the month of January it's a month that we've never seen before, really, I don't think. Let me think about that. Well, let's just go back. Yeah. So it is something that we haven't seen. Meaning, new moon in Capricorn conjunct Pluto, the final one ever. This is in the month of January. A few days later, Sun Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, the last one ever. And then towards the end of January, a Sun Pluto conjunction in Aquarius. That's big. That's big energies, really big. But again, I have a lot of faith in this Uranus trine. I think that's going to help a lot of people who maybe have struggled somewhat, you know. Trine aspects are, they're a little bit like a lucky break from the universe, you know, and Uranus is also lucky breaks as well. It's breakthroughs, you know. So Uranus trine the moon can be a sense of having a breakthrough in certain things in your life, you know, either certain things that you're trying to move away from, or even new things that you were trying to step into. There's a sense of ease there, a sense of support. So, but at the same time, we do have to contend with Pluto's presence there as well. And Pluto almost always asks us to let something go. Let something go out of our life. You cannot have a rebirth if you don't have a death. It's just a fact. It's just how it is. So there will be something that we really need to release at this time. And because it's the entire culmination, you know, of Pluto finishing his journey in Capricorn in 2024, it's probably going to cover, you know, a big chapter of your life, right? It just depends also where transiting Pluto is in your birth chart, you know. If it's connecting to any of your personal planets or to any of your angles, typically the event is felt or seen a lot more obviously. Sometimes it can be more hidden, if you like. I wouldn't say subtle, but perhaps hidden. If Pluto is not aspecting any of your personal planets, and if it's in an intermediate house, or even cadent house. So intermediates are 2, 5, 8, and 11. And the cadent, and this is ancient traditional astrological language, if you like, a 12, 3, 6, and 9. But again, it depends. You can't make a blanket statement about that. It just depends on the individual. But fundamentally, this new moon in Capricorn, it is a new beginning, but it's a new beginning attached to something old that we are releasing in order for that new energy to come through. It is trine Uranus, so there's a chance there for us to integrate into something that will just enable us to feel more liberated, greater ability to be authentic in who we are and what we are doing, and understand that sometimes things that pass through temporarily, which are not comfortable, which are not pleasant, which we don't like, those things are transient, just like everything is. And when it comes to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they always speak to the bigger picture, you know, to the soul's journey from an evolutionary level, and to matters and chapters of our life that take us into the future. Certainly Uranus takes us into the future. So even though we can't see right now certain details and certain things we want to see, we've got to have faith, which of course is Jupiter. And Jupiter and Uranus are going to form a conjunction on the 19th of April, 2024, which is going to be a very, very interesting portal and very advantageous for a lot of people. But I will come back and do a single focused video just on that passage because I think it's worthy of that. So I'll leave it there, and just finally, don't forget that I've got a new series of classes starting. I should have said that at the beginning, but anyway. See, I always forget to talk about. Anyway, never mind. A new series of classes, which will be, this particular series will be on all the planets, including Chiron, and a number of different asteroid goddesses and other asteroids that are not goddesses, but are gods, so to speak. It's going to be a journey of probably around about, this one might be 12, 13 weeks, I think. I need to still create the structure for it. But it's going to be a very in-depth, short series, meaning 12, 13, 14 weeks around there, of an in-depth exploration of the planets and certain asteroids, and of course the mythology associated to each, and understanding from an evolutionary perspective, and perhaps some Babylonian material as well, as in Babylonian astrology, about the different gods and goddesses and how they were understood through the Babylonian teachings. So if you're interested in that, send me an email and we can go from there. In the meantime, I wish you all a healthy and safe beginning of what's going to be a really intense year. And we all have our own free will to make the choices that we want to. And like I said at the beginning, that there's going to be inevitable exposures and changes that are out of our control and that are absolutely necessary. But we can work with that and integrate with that from the point of view of what serves our own evolution and growth. And don't worry about people not liking what you're saying or what you are doing. The question is, are you at peace with what you are saying and what you are doing? And don't forget the Bible quote, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? See you soon, guys.